very happy to introduce this year's NACo Achievement Award for the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation category, Harford County. We are joined today by Harford County Executive, the Honorable Barry Glassman, and Mr. Joe Ryan.
Much for having us here from Harford County, Maryland this afternoon. Listen, I am passionate about the opioid epidemic crisis that is facing us all, every zip code across the country. We are so proud to be here today just to talk a little bit about how we have used the arts as a mechanism to bring public information and to begin to heal the nation by using arts in our program. And as we all know, this is an epidemic that this year we have surpassed the number of folks that we lost during the AIDS crisis. We've lost more Americans than we lost in the Vietnam War to the opioid epidemic that has struck across the country. Today with me is Joe Ryan, my administrator for the Office of Drug Control Policy in my county, which is the lead agency for substance abuse prevention and awareness. He's here today to bring some of the details on the initiatives that we have been recognized by NACo this year. But right before we begin, I would want to just talk about some of the strengths of our campaign, and I hope that some of these ideas will help your own communities if you've not already begun. As we know, every age, every zip code, every demographic, children are experimenting with drugs and alcohol earlier. Heroin can be purchased on the street for less than a cup of coffee. And some of the additives, fentanyl, carfentanil, can be delivered to your front porch by delivery through Amazon and the U.S. Postal Service. Every community in our country struggles with substance abuse. One of the most important objectives of our awareness campaign was to reduce the stigma. And early on, we brought addiction out of the darkness. We talked about overdoses, prevention. We held town halls with hundreds of participants. We created radio ads for Mother's Day and Father's Day, ran public service announcements in movie theaters, which were created by young people, spoke to sports teams, community and faith-based groups, and put up billboards to begin to fight that epidemic. And I can remember our first billboard, which was artistic in its creation, that just showed a young child looking over his backpack. And we said children, we had polling that showed children as early as middle school and elementary school were experimenting at different drugs. And believe me, it was great. It brought a lot of attention. But as you all know, I got a lot of phone calls and said, you know, in Harford County, we're a sleepy suburban county north of Baltimore. How dare you say and show a picture of a young man in a backpack and mention drugs? So just as we see in the arts, sometimes we'll get some pushback when folks have to look and see what we've done to bring some of the fear and shame out of the shadows. We also talked about peer-to-peer messaging, which we have used most significantly when young people can talk to other young people, when young people can share with other young people through videos, through artwork, that they've lost siblings, they've lost a mom or dad, an uncle, or someone in their family. When they begin to share that through artistic impressions, they can really make an impact. Our student PSAs and our Hope Calendar art competitions brought opportunities for young people to begin to share with one another and to bring those components out and forward to the community. We also, in our county through theater, we had a play that was written called Addicted, that was written by an actual teacher, performed by students throughout the county, and brought families together into all our schools where children actually through the theater were able to share their experiences and their thoughts to other children and other families. And believe me, you could hear, at those performances, you could hear a pin drop when a mother came at the end and talked about losing a child, to the other families that were gathered there. And just through that artistic touch, they were able to really make an impact. None of this is really possible without partners with your health department, the school system, the libraries, treatment providers, and other counties that we travel together to share our message. Through our partnerships, we're able to cross-promote initiatives, eliminate redundancy, improve efficiency, and really our collaborative approach by using the arts in the community have really broke down barriers to treatment and recovery. Listen, I know this epidemic is multifaceted. It requires efforts and ingenuity from everyone in this room. But I want to thank you and let you know that the arts, that wonderful expression, whether it's visual, verbal, the theaters, video, digital, the arts can play a role in solving this epidemic. You would never think it. We always fall back on just speeches, videos, different things, having doctors come out. But believe me, the arts can touch the soul, and this is really an epidemic that is going to require this kind of outreach. And I want to thank you, and I'm going to let Joe take over and talk about some of our programs. But I would encourage this commission and everyone really connected to the arts to know that you can make a difference. The arts may be our way out of this, the light at the end of the tunnel. So please continue to promote counties and recognize counties throughout the country that are able to use art, theater, video, digital to solve this, what is really the greatest epidemic facing our families throughout the country. So thank you so much, and I'm going to let Joe say a few things and show you an example of some of our programs. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Glassman. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Ryan. I'm the administrator for the Harford County Office of Drug Control Policy, which is the drug prevention office for local government. I spent 26 years in law enforcement with the Maryland State Police, most of those years as a narcotics officer, and for the last 19 years as a prevention coordinator in our county. Right now, I feel a little intimidated in a room with all these artists. Because last week on vacation, I had the chance to experience art with my 4-year-old grandson. And he goes, "Hey, Pop, you want to color?" Yeah. So he gets out his coloring book, and we're coloring in a few minutes. He looks over at my work. He says, "You know, you're supposed to stay within the lines, Pop." So that's how much joy art can bring to you, and that's those memories. So what are we doing with the arts? Well, we looked at the data from 4 years ago. And we were alarmed what our middle school students were doing with experimenting with drugs and alcohol, especially those powerful prescription medications and heroin. So as our county executive said, we partnered with our local public school health teachers. We came up with a plan. Hey, we were concentrating on our 9th and 10th graders. We knew we had to be down in the middle school with the 6th and 7th graders. So we put together a educational plan, refusal skills, on let these kids know that most kids were doing the right thing, social marketing, social media. So as we're going along, we think we're getting traction, we're getting the kids' attention. And then late winter we go, so what are we going to do in the summer, you know, when the kids are out of school? And we came up with the idea like, hey, in the summertime, a lot of kids go to the movie theaters. So why don't we have a contest to develop some public service announcements, sort of that peer-to-peer talking, kids talking to other kids about it, just for 30 seconds. So we put that out there as a contest. And we had about probably over a dozen contestants put in their PSAs about how addiction is affecting them. We picked up on that. We posted that. We have 3 local movie theaters in our county. and we did those public service announcements when you were in there in the movie theaters. If you've been there, all the advertisement that goes on. And the kids were getting the message in the community. Parents were saying, hey, we were at the movies and we saw your ad. It gave me the opportunity, again, to talk to my child about the dangers of drugs in our community. So it paid off. It kept that conversation going. Parents talking to their kids about drug and alcohol issues is more powerful than any government agent out there. Trust me. So we look forward to that. We do it twice a year now, once in the summertime, and then we do it once in the fall during that Christmas holiday when a lot of folks, we know they go to the movie theaters. So in Harford County, we also have a coalition in place because we want everybody's input on this. It's a community issue. It's a public health issue, not a public safety issue. So we have everyone at the table, bringing their ideas out. And one of our pastors in a local church came up with an idea. He goes, hey, I think we should have an art contest. And the group agreed with that, and I thought it was a great idea. So we publicized an art contest for elementary school children, middle school students, high school students, and then adults. And we put that out, and we had nearly 200 pieces of art that were submitted. And we had a committee look over the art, and we picked the first place winner, second place winner, and third place winner in all three of those age categories. We put their art on display at the local church, and we had a little award ceremony where the first, second, and third place winners received monetary awards. And then we made a calendar that we sold in the community. We talked about the economics of that. That helped the proceeds from our artwork, the calendars that were made, help a local halfway house. But there's a personal story with one of these winners that took place this last Christmas. We always give out the awards the first Friday in December. And we send out we do it the old-fashioned way. We send them a letter congratulating that they won. And I got the letter back from the student that won the first place prize in the high school division. Got it back, moved, no forwarding address. We knew what neighborhood he lived in, so we checked with the local school. We actually tracked down the student. My school resource officer did that for us. So we wanted to give the student his $250 Visa gift card. So we track him down. He comes into the principal office, and they said, hey, this is our average student, doesn't give us any problems, comes to school every day. We don't even know he's here. He's your average student. So he comes in and he goes, well, am I in trouble? And we go like, no, we're here. We got some good news. You won first place. You have this Visa award. And he goes like, oh. And I said, hey, do you live at that address? And I said the address. He goes, no, we became homeless. We're living in a motel room. And when I gave him the gift card, he goes, my family can have Christmas now. That's the personal touch that you can have with art. It was really a moving experience for me and the school resource officer. We got them connected with those social services issues. And it was all through the power of art. In fact, the kid was carrying a binder, and in it was all his art. And he said, one day I knew it would pay off. So he was so proud of himself. He probably had 50, 60 pieces of art in his binder. It was the coolest kid. It really had a happy ending. Somebody had a nice Christmas because of their talents with art. So then the county executive talked about the play Addicted. This play deals with, it's written by a school counselor, directed by her, brings up the three issues of heroin, alcohol, and the misuse of prescription drugs. It's a very well written, how it affects the individual, how it affects their relationships with friends, how it affects their family dynamics. And in this play, they're all actors, and they're very good actors. They can tell the truth about addiction because they can say, at one point, like, hey, heroin, it made me feel good. If I, as an educator, go out there, the kids will take that out of context, say, hey, heroin, why do people do it? It makes them feel good. But then in the play, it goes how that high and how it leads to total destruction of their life. And it plays out in front of the students and their parents, and it's a very strong message that goes out into our community. Over the last 3 years, we've had 6,000 people attend this performance. So people come out. We have a military base in our county, Aberdeen Proving Ground. The general in charge of that base made it part of his education, drug education that he has to put on. So he had 950 of his employees show up and see this play. He was so moved by it when he came out and worked the play with us, in the community. So with that, we have a 6-minute trailer of the movie Addicted. We'll let Ms. Tech get in here and work her magic.
You would think love would be stronger than addiction. You would think programs would be stronger than addiction. Maybe willpower would be stronger than addiction, but nothing is.
So the other day, I was heading to one of my usual spots underneath the 4th Street Bridge. I saw the paramedics there trying to bring back some junkie. The guy still had a needle in his arm. So I went to check it out. It was Will. It was Will. God, this one hurts the most. I mean, this shouldn't have happened. I don't want to die a junkie with a needle in my arm, with nothing and nobody. Sometimes it feels like on that day we decided to do this together, I bought a ticket to a place that promised something beautiful. I used everything. My friends, my family, my girlfriend. I used everything I had to pay for that ticket. I believed that when I got there, it would be worth it. And I would be in control. All the joke's on me. Because you see, the ticket's only one way. And control is the last thing that I have. She's in control. At first, heroin was my best friend. She lured me in a way that only she can do. She told me lies like she could take away all of my problems and all of my pain. She whispered to me that I was doing nothing wrong. And then slowly she stole my dreams. Before I knew it, I woke up one day to realize that she was never a friend at all. I was just hearing what I wanted to hear. And the minute that heroin started to wear off, I was dry heaving, cramping, twitching, so sick, I'd rather be dead. And nothing takes away that pain but the prick of another needle. And when I think about how I used to be afraid of needles, all I can do is laugh. Because every day I'm begging for another one. My whole body is bruised, bloody, and swollen, and I am filled with shame and exhaustion. I just want to go home. But I don't know how. She won't let me go. I know that sounds like an excuse, It's the only truth that I know anymore. I just want to be clean. Please, one day, somebody help me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Alex, it's me, open up. Alex! Alex, come on, this isn't funny. Yes, it is. It's my boyfriend. He's not moving. He's not waking up. Alex, wake up.